Hey, it's Friday, so we've got a Friday recap. This is time where we come together and just talk about what we've read this week as we've gone through the Bible. That way, if you haven't been reading, you can jump back in with us and start picking up on Monday. I hope that's what you would do. But if you have been reading, maybe there's some things that were just a little bit confusing, or you just kind of want to talk about it. So that's what Friday is all about. We've been reading in Nehemiah and Malachi, and then today, this morning, we made the transition into the New Testament. We read Luke 1, which is an exciting time for us to move into the New Testament finally. We're over halfway through our reading plan at this point. But we'll go ahead and start with Monday's reading, which is Nehemiah 12, which was kind of set in an exciting time for Jerusalem, right? Like they've been rebuilding these walls under the leadership of Nehemiah. They finally have the walls built and they dedicate themselves to the Lord. They kind of renew their covenant and basically say, we're going to start living for you again. And now Nehemiah gives a record of the priest for the last several years as a testament to the Lord. In other words, he's saying things have been really difficult for the last several years, but we've had priests the whole time, even in the difficult times. And then they dedicate the walls of Jerusalem to the Lord. And then we read Nehemiah 13, and Nehemiah calls the people back to the basics. He removes people that were of foreign descent because they didn't worship the Lord. He corrects and resets up how offerings are taken. And he puts new people in charge. He deals with the people breaking the Sabbath and deals with intermarriage, like all these different things. He's saying, let's go back to the basics. Let's get away from all the ways that we've wandered from the Lord and what He's set up for us, and let's get back to the way that He's called us to live. And then I just wanted to read the end of the book of Nehemiah, verses 30 and 31 in chapter 30. It says, "Thus I cleansed them from everything foreign, and I established the duties of the priests and Levites, each in his work. And I provided for the wood offering at appointed times and for the first fruits. Remember me, O my God, for good." So he's pointing out what some of his reforms were, some of the changes that he made, and then highlighting some new ones as well there in Nehemiah 13. And then we went into Malachi 1 through 4. It's a book with 4 chapters, and we read 1 and 2 on Wednesday and 3 and 4 on Thursday. So Malachi 1, the Lord is telling Israel through Malachi. Malachi is a prophet. The Lord is telling Israel through Malachi, first, that He's chosen Israel as the nation that He loves and that He's chosen. Like He's letting them know, you are my people. And He then flips the tables and says that God's love shouldn't be what's in question, right? Because they were kind of questioning, does God really love us? We've gone through a lot of things. And He says, you shouldn't question my love. I'm questioning your love. You won't even bring me offerings. Like your offerings that you're bringing me are trash, and you bring me blemished offerings. And so He calls them out and says, you can't question my love for you. I question your love for me. And then in Malachi 2, in Malachi we just see God kind of not holding back any punches on the people. He then rebukes the priests for not following the Lord and trusting Him. And then He condemns a couple marriage offenses. Number one, He condemns marrying pagans, right? People that don't believe in the Lord. We hear all the time people talk about being equally yoked, and we see that's important to God. He wants us to be married to people that believe like we do, that love Him and follow Him. Because how can we follow the Lord well whenever we're in a relationship married to somebody who doesn't follow the Lord? You're constantly at odds with each other, and a lot of times you're compromising with each other and different beliefs. The other marriage offense that He calls out is divorce for non-biblical reasons. Like they were just getting divorced because they didn't really feel like they were in love anymore. Didn't really feel like they fit together anymore. And so people were getting divorced, and He's calling them out for this and saying that's not okay. Then in Malachi 3, we see prophecy of John the Baptist coming to prepare the way for Jesus. So we start seeing these awesome glimpses a few hundred years before John the Baptist and Jesus come on the scene. They're being prophesied by Malachi. And then he rebukes the nation again on account of their begrudging offerings. And then the Lord recognizes those who fear Him, who believed Him, and their names were written in a book of remembrance. Right? So the offerings that we're talking about, people were, they weren't bringing their best. excuse me, they weren't bringing their best offerings to God. They were bringing blemished offerings. They would keep the good stuff for themselves, and they take the blemished stuff for God, because in their mind it ain't really that big a deal. They weren't really missing. That's what they didn't want. They didn't want to keep that, so they would take it to God, and God calls them out. So for their begrudging offerings there. But then we see the people who fear the Lord, and their names are written down into this book of remembrance. And then in Malachi 4, the Lord then tells Israel that a judgment is coming. So remember the law of Moses. He's telling them, look, there's coming a time where I'm going to judge the actions of all of the people. And so remember the law of Moses. Remember that there's a messenger coming. He says something about remember Elijah. So remember that there's a messenger coming, because that's in reference to actually John the Baptist. And then the day of the Lord is coming. There's a time where there's going to be judgment, right? There's a time where the Lord's going to come back. So remember those things. And then this morning we were in Luke 1, where we make our move into the New Testament, the first chapter that we read in the New Testament. We see the birth of John the Baptist being foretold to his mom Elizabeth, and also to his dad Zechariah. And Zechariah has some doubt, and the Lord even tells him, I'm going to silence you because you don't believe. I'm going to silence you until you do believe. And so he can't say any words until after John the Baptist ends up being born and is named John. And he was named John because God told him to be named John. And then we see the birth of Jesus being foretold, and that being brought to Mary, mother of Jesus, right? An angel comes to her and tells her that she's going to have a son, even though she's not married yet. And then we see that moment where Mary and Elizabeth go and spend some time together, and as soon as Mary arrives, she's pregnant with Jesus, right? And Elizabeth is pregnant with John the Baptist. As soon as Mary arrives, John the Baptist in the womb of Elizabeth turns a flip. He's so excited. He's in the presence of Jesus, the Savior, the one that's been prophesied about, the one that we've been reading about since Genesis 3, right? Since we see the prophecy that there's going to be the serpent getting crushed, his head crushed by the heel of the seed of the woman, right? The same Messiah that we've been reading about all throughout the Old Testament shows up, and John the Baptist in his mother's womb turns a flip as a result of that. And then we see Mary sing a song of praise because of all the awesome things that God's going to do. And then whenever Zechariah finally gets his voice back, right after his son is born and named John, he gives a prophecy of just how great the Lord is. So it's an awesome chapter. It's an awesome read. Especially, we just read about this prophecy this prophecy of John the Baptist coming and of Jesus coming in Malachi, and now we see that in Luke 1. So tomorrow we're reading Luke 2. We're not going to talk about that today. We're leaving that for you guys to read tomorrow. I don't want to talk about that now. I want you guys to read it. So I hope that you'll join us tomorrow as we read Luke 2, and then next week as we continue reading through the Bible. We're in week 26 next week of our reading plan. And we're going to be going through the Gospels for the next several weeks. And then we'll move into Acts after that. But in the next 6 or 7 weeks, we will be in the Gospels. So join us as we read through those and read about Jesus and everything that happened whenever he walked on this earth, and the purpose that God had for him, and what he was here to do. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you hopefully on Sunday. Services at 8:15, 9:45, and 11:15 here at Living Truth in Pace, and we will also be online if you are not able to join us in person yet. Y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you soon.